Okay, Nagler, before we get going here, I just want to say thank you for having me over to your place. I know things can get really testy online. I can be a bit of a jerk sometimes, but I really appreciate the opportunity to sit down, talk to you face to face. Well, I was a little reticent at first when you reached out and wanted to sit down face to face, but I think that's a good idea. I think you're right. I think the vitriol online, especially on Twitter, can be a bit much, especially when we're talking about something as, important as the Green Bay Packers. I'll just start off by saying here's what I think you're so stupid about, all right? The Packers didn't waste Aaron Rodgers' prime thing, because we know the prime is gone, right? And then they're going to be terrible for a long time. And you talk about the glory days and how, oh, you grew up when the Packers sucked. And I'm sorry, but no one cares, man. Like, you talk about how Packers fans need to appreciate what they have. They're living in the moment, all right? I live in the moment. And your, perspective is not appreciated. No one gives a shit. So I don't understand why you always bring that up. Well, I bring it up because the Packers, especially since Ron Wolf came on board in the early 90s, have won a boatload of football games. They have been absolutely outstanding at what they do, which is playing the game of football. And to watch them grow and expand with Titletown, the additions with the atrium and everything they've done around Lambeau, I just wish more fans appreciated that they aren't run by a billionaire owner who just wants to run basically his own little ATM while he doesn't care about the product on the field. I mean, outside of the New England Patriots, no one's won more games than the Green Bay Packers in the last pretty much couple decades. And I understand Bill Belichick, Tom Brady, they skew the perspective because they won so many titles. But it's hard to win a Super Bowl. The Packers have won two basically since Ron Wolf came on board. And they've been in contention each and every year. I much prefer having a team that has a chance to win it more often than not than having a team that has no shot like they did for decades when I was growing up. Okay, next up, your obsession with saying the Packers were fine at wide receiver in 2019. Come on, you can't really believe that. I mean, I looked at the fantasy magazines and I saw zero names outside of Davante Adams heading into last year, so I knew those wide receivers were terrible. Why is it that, Bill Michaels, all the guys there in Milwaukee, they all knew the wide receivers were terrible, but you couldn't say it. You just refused to say it. Defend yourself. Well, I don't think I really need to defend myself. I mean, they got to the NFC Championship game. They won 13 regular season games, won a playoff game at home. They played at home because of their regular season. They were very close to having home field advantage with those quote-unquote terrible wide receivers. Look, I get the idea of wanting to augment the talent at that position, but at what cost? I mean, Brian Gutekunst clearly thought he could try. He came really close to trading for Robbie Anderson during the season, but the Jets wanted a little bit more than he was willing to pay, and I think they were fine because of it. I mean, look, they have new blood now because of that draft pick or picks that he kept, rather than throwing them away on a rental. And they won a ton of games with Lazard, with Geronimo Allison, with all those guys, with Kumaro. I understand they're not names. I understand, yes, they are probably a little bit more deficient talent-wise with the guys they had on hand last year, but they did not get to the Super Bowl because of it. I mean, they got dominated up front on both sides of the ball in San Francisco, and all the wide receivers in the world weren't going to change that. Okay, like I said, it's mighty decent of you to have me over and talk this out. This will be the last thing, all right? This is the thing that really kind of gets under my skin. What? I just don't understand why you got to be so mean to people online. I mean, just because I call you a fucking asshole doesn't mean, and that might have come right after I insulted your children and possibly talked about your personal life. But, why you gotta be such a jerk? Look, I'm not a jerk to people who aren't a jerk to me. There's a great line in the movie Running Scared, starring Gregory Hines and Billy Crystal. If you haven't seen it, check it out, where Gregory Hines says, "When fired upon, return the fire." If you come at me on Twitter, online, respectfully, with a question, even a comment, but with, a modicum of respect, I'm fine. I have great conversations with people all the time. You come at me like a dick, I'm sorry, I opened fire. That's the way it is. And then people want to know, why am I blocked? Why am I... Because you were a jerk. It's pretty simple, you know? Come with a civil tone, I will respond in kind. You come at me with heat, I'm going to return the fire. You know? But again, thanks a lot for hanging out, talking this out. It's good to see you face to face. Hey man, salut. All right, hey, salut.